Now, income inequality is a really big issue during this election, brought up, of course, by Bernie Sanders and now by Hillary Clinton. Now, it's a big issue here in America, but it's also a big issue worldwide. Now, it might surprise you to know that on the rankings of OECD countries that have the most unequal distributions of wealth, the United States is last. We have the most unequal distribution, but the country that actually is ahead of us by one is the UK, the United Kingdom. In fact, there is a recent report in The Independent that says that income inequality is actually getting even bigger and might have been one of the causes of Brexit. Now, this report says the richest 1/5 of the population of the United Kingdom now owns more than 20 times total the wealth of the poorest fifth, making the economy the second most unequal in the developed world, according to an analysis by Oxfam. Now, another way of putting this is basically the numbers say that around 634,000 Britons are worth 20 times as much as the poorest 13 million Britons. Jeez. And look, being in America, obviously we've got it worse than Britain, but this shows that income inequality is not just a uniquely American problem. It's a problem that has been popping up everywhere in the world. Now, we've had a right-wing government under David Cameron over in the UK. Now, Jeremy Corbyn's in there, the Labour Party, to try to fix some of this. But we've seen this slow drive, this tilt to the right, even in European countries. And look, it's very concerning. And I'm saying this as an American because, look, we all know how this ends up. We're living in it. And some of these European countries right now have some of the most equal distributions of wealth. Yes, obviously there's still rich people, but it's not so stark as we have it here in America and now in Britain. And Britain is just sliding further and further into this. Now, I have more details on this. First, the items from the report say the UK is one of the most unequal developed countries in the world. 3 decades of high-level inequality have had a profound impact, leading many people to believe that they have little stake in society and feel locked out of politics and economic opportunity. Hey, we hear you, UK brothers. We're there. Now, the Oxfam report used data from Credit Suisse, which showed that the 10 richest 10% of the UK population own over half of the country's total wealth, about 54%, with the top 1% owning nearly a quarter, while the poorest 20% share just 0.8% of the country's wealth between them. Now, this also goes into the rest of the world, not just the UK and America. The world's richest people are unsurprisingly getting richer. The report finds that a small minority will own half of the world's wealth by the end of this year. This means that tiny group of people will own more wealth than 99% of the world, owning average assets of $2.7 million per person. And that figure is growing. Another detail from this report, the richest 1% have seen their share of global wealth has increased from 44% in 2009 to 48% in 2014, and that figure is on track to go over 50% this year. These are disastrous numbers. We had a more equal society before a lot of these trade deals, right? And before a lot of these trade deals, before a lot of globalization, where we essentially said, hey, let's put all our manufacturing into these low-wage countries and exploit them for labor to make all of our stuff. That's why you don't see any manufacturers of, for example, smartphones anywhere in the United States. No, they're all over in China, Vietnam, Taiwan, and low-wage countries. That's what's driving this inequality. Because they're cheap outsourcing and in trade deals, you'll have companies that will drive down the wages of the more advanced, more developed countries, or the ones with protections. And that's exactly what's driving this income inequality, this wealth inequality that we're seeing not only in America, but worldwide. Now, there are other things that also drive up this wealth inequality. And that's, of course, hiding money from taxation, right? Now, the richest 1% is hiding about $2 trillion overseas. They're just hiding that money from taxation. Now, that's just in America. But Switzerland is one of the largest tax havens. You've also got the Cayman Islands. You've also got Ireland. Huge tax havens where people will store their money or do corporate inversions. Now, interestingly enough, this actually relates to the current presidential election. Now, this is one thing, hiding their money overseas, that Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton might actually have in common. Now, the Panama Papers, remember those, actually highlighted the fact that Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump both have companies registered at the same address in Wilmington, Delaware. So basically what they're using is the Delaware loophole that allowed for the legal shifting of earnings from elsewhere in the country to basically go to a tax haven here in the United States. Now, Hillary and Bill Clinton themselves have utilized onshore and offshore tax loopholes. In 2010, they used a common tax dodging techniques called the residence trust. They put their home in Chappaqua, New York, in this trust, and that allows them, of course, to dodge taxes. Now, after he left office, Bill Clinton also spent 5 years as an advisor to billionaire Ron Burkle's investment fund. Now, this fund had funds registered in the Cayman Islands and Dubai. This little partnership between them got Bill Clinton at least $15 million. And Hillary Clinton also supported the 2012 U.S. Panama Trade Promotion Agreement when she was Secretary of State. Now, what this agreement did is that it removed barriers to U.S. services, including financial services. Now, that actually made it a lot simpler for people to basically funnel money to Panama. Great. There's more. A number of individuals that have donated to Hillary Clinton's foundation also used the company Mossack Fonseca or something. I can't seem to remember how to say that today. That was the main company in the Panama Papers that was used to squirrel this money away from taxation. Well, a lot of the donors to the Clinton Foundation used that same company to establish offshore accounts. Now, this included Canadian mining billionaire Frank Gustra, who, of course, is one of the top donors to the Clinton Foundation, who gave about $25 million. And there are two firms tied to Eng Lap Seng, who's a Chinese billionaire that has recently been implicated in a major donor scandal involving the Clintons and the Democratic National Committee. Now, that's what Hillary Clinton has to do with this. Donald Trump, well, we don't quite know because he won't release his tax returns. But his policies will also help create more income inequality. And for example, when it comes to the $2 trillion overseas in tax havens, well, he actually wants to give a repatriation holiday where he would only tax that money at 10% instead of what it actually should be taxed at. That's not going to help with income inequality. Not only that, but while he claims that he wants to end offshore accounts by American companies, he's actually personally invested in the companies that happen to do this. As CBS News noted in October 2015, Trump owned stock in 22 of the top 30 Fortune 500 companies, ranked by their number of offshore subsidiaries. This group has engineered 1,225 tax haven subsidiaries, holding $1.4 trillion overseas. Now, Trump understands this. He knows this, and he's proud. He says, look, I pay as little as possible, and I use everything that I can in the book. This stuff is legal, and it does impact income inequality. When you're hiding all your money from taxation, that can't get recycled back into the economy, and that means you've got less money for social services and less money for things like investment and education, further widening the income gap. That's why this is a problem. It's not just a problem in the United States. Yes, I give a lot of the United States examples, but it's also a problem worldwide that we need to solve. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent, non-corporate media, go to our Patreon page and become a patron. Patreon.com/TYTNation.